And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to another video where today, well, we're going to talk about why these Hellcats, Scat Packs, even my glorious and beautiful sublime green special edition Swinger Scat Pack will not hold its value. These cars will not hold their value. I've said this 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. Every prediction I've made in this last 2 years has come true, and it's coming true every single day more and more. Yet some of you still comment even after watching these videos and want to argue the point that these things are investments, they're going to hold their value, and they're going to make you wealthy one day. And instead you should just go put some money in Bitcoin, because it is to the moon right now, which I have a ton of Bitcoin, so I'm gonna probably cash it in and run for the hills, because I don't think that's sustainable either. But nonetheless, these for sure are not. So let's jump in the car and talk about the 8 reasons why. I just know, and I hope you all know, this isn't about me being negative. I love these cars, but I know that if you're buying these things as investments, and you think that they're going to someday be worth a ton of money, or even if you think they're going to hold their value, that you are so incredibly blinded by your love for these cars that you are making a horrible financial decision, and you need to make a decision that is more circled around having fun with this car, because that is what it is built for. It is what it's meant for. You need to enjoy it while it's here and drive the living shit out of this car, and not park it thinking that it's going to solve your retirement issues someday or keep you from having to eat cat food because you're going to sell it for $1 million. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's jump in the car and talk about these 8 reasons. The door handle worked. That's great. All right, folks, so let's get started. You know, what made me do this video is, first, comments on my last 2 videos were so great. 99% of them were great, and there's still those people in there just like, I'm buying it because it's going to hold its value. And it still blows my mind after all the things I'm saying. But we are winning right now. Everything I've said this last couple years, especially since like the middle of last year, the tail end of last year, when everybody's losing their ever-loving minds, overpaying for these cars, ordering them and offering $50,000 over and falling for the huge markups. And there's people paying 50 grand over for Scat Packs. Could you imagine that? Today you can get a special edition just like mine for about $3,000 and under MSRP, all over the place. Like, it's not even hard to find anymore, which means I lost $3,000, and it's the best $3,000 I've ever lost, because I've made it up in joy and happiness and driving this car around and having fun, because I never expected to make money on this car. I just didn't want to get soaked so badly that I was $13,000 or $14,000 or $15,000 or $20,000, or like some of the people who bought some of these special editions who are $25,000, $30,000 to $50,000 in the hole on this car. I'm a measly $3,000, and I only lose that money if I sell the car. I am happy with this thing. So far, I think I'm keeping it. Unless the demon shows up. Then I gotta figure something out. But let's jump in and talk about this this topic, because somebody sent me a video by a guy, Alex the Rican, and what a cool guy. What a great guy. What a solid guy. I you know, never watched the channel, but I watched this video, and look, I'm not here to beat on him at all. The dude's got money, and he can do with his money as he pleases. I'm not judging the guy, but he did a video on, you know, straight up admitting that he paid a massive markup on a Charger jailbreak, and he says in the video, in the most confident, believing way, that, well, he's not going to drive that car very much. He's going to keep it in his garage because it's going to go up in value. It's an investment. And he said it. And, you know, I'm not going to beat up on the guy about it. I mean, he believes it. And you know what? I hope he's right. Here's why. If he's right, then that means my special edition Scat Pack's gonna go to the moon one day. And, you know, any other cars I can buy right now for really cheap would go to the moon. All of you don't end up losing money on your cars who overpaid for them. But he paid so much more for the car that I think the point he missed is the only way that works, if it really does appreciate in value, is that you don't give all that appreciation to the dealership. I've said this before. If the car is let's say it's a $100,000 car, and they want a $40,000 markup, and you pay them the $40,000 markup, and let's say that car baseline is a $100,000 car, and that car goes up in value, let's say it's 10 years, it's going up from $100,000. It's not going up from 140, meaning that if you just find yourself back at 140 10 years from now, that means your investment has done nothing. And if you have a loan on it, you paid interest, everything else, so it's done nothing. It's stayed where it's at. Now, that's amazing for a car, but when you calculate in the maintenance you're going to have to do from having a car sitting around forever, and horrible sadness of it not being driven because you have to keep the miles very, very low to hold that price, then you could have invested in almost anything else. You could have probably bought Dogecoin and had a similar outcome, because that's just been sitting there at the same price. You didn't have to buy a car, take up a huge spot in your garage, and have it just sit there. It doesn't make sense. But Brad, I don't agree with you. There's, what's the precedent? Well, the precedent is the 2018 Dodge Demon. 2018 Dodge Demon was selling, nobody was buying it for $85,000, $86,000. Nobody was buying it for that sticker price back then in 2018. I would have bought one back then. What was happening is every dealership had them up for $50,000 to $100,000 over sticker. You weren't touching one unless you were willing to drop $150,000 on that car. So really the markups were $75,000, $70,000. So the average Demon out there, now some of you are going to comment and say, I got mine for sticker. Frankly, you're an anomaly. Let's deal with the rule, not the exception. And most people paid $150,000 for those cars. Even if they paid $125,000 for those cars, if they parked them in their garage and never put any miles on them, today those cars are really, the baseline's about 150 grand. You'll see a whole bunch of them, and I say a whole bunch of them, so many of them for sale. And they're starting up at the 200, 205,000, 250, to this, never selling. Nobody's buying them for that. These are just list prices. Then you see a whole bunch more for $150,000 with super low miles, delivery miles for around that 150 range. So why would somebody pay $200,000 for that car versus 150 if you can get it for 150? So nobody's buying these things for $190,000 or $200,000. They're really around that 150. So you figure a lot of people are buying them at that price. But let's talk about this before we get into the reasons. The people who bought them first, about, I would say close to 80%, if not more of them, were speculators, owners of dealerships, friends of owners. They bought these things, and if they got them at sticker, for the most part, they held on to them. Even if they paid markups, they bought them as investments. And they have a numbered car and no miles, delivery miles, and it's been sitting in their garage waiting for the biggest dummy to come in and offer them a win. The problem is since they already paid $125,000, $130,000, $150,000, $160,000, $175,000, $200,000 back in 2018, their win needs to be more than that. But that's not been possible. There hasn't been a day since 2018 and that car has been worth more than a standard and average marked up 2018 Demon at around the 150 range. That's where they've been this whole time. There's been asking prices way beyond that, but that's where they've been, meaning all these speculators have been sitting in these cars, languishing in garages, undriven, getting all mucked up with the rubber rotting and just not moving for now 5 years. How sad is that? For almost 6 years. 6 years sitting there, not moving, thinking they're going to make money, and they have yet to have gotten there. Then they launch the 170, and then people freak out, oh, they're killing the value on that thing. Well, that's what Dodge does. They'll come out with something else that'll kill your value. But they jump on the bandwagon, and now you see all these 18s, so people aren't getting their 170s back up for sale for $200,000. Nobody's buying them. Nobody's ever going to buy them, because here's why. Back in the 70s, when 1970 Dodge Challenger was kept pristine, there wasn't that many of those built, and the few that remained that were bought by speculators or collectors were so rare that it made these cars worth a lot more money, 40, 50 years later. And that makes sense because there were so few. And barn finds become valuable because there were so few that have been kept around in good condition or fully restored. The difference between back then and today is, instead of less than, let's say, 1% or 2% of the cars that were bought to preserve as collector's items, now 75 to 80% of the cars, at least the 2018 Demons, were bought by speculators. So instead of 1 or 2% of them, now 80% of them were bought by speculators, meaning that's why we have so many of them out there for sale with no miles. They were bought by investors thinking these cars are going to cash in big time. Now the good news is most of them hadn't lost any money. But the second buyer buys that Demon, the second buyer buys that Demon, who's not a speculator, who's not an investor, who's not looking to make money on that car, check out how this goes. That guy drives it. That guy goes and puts 16,000 miles on that car. That car now drops to $130,000, $125,000. That's the difference. So that guy now buys it for $150 from the speculator. Speculator's like, damn, I made no money on this thing, because the dealer took all the appreciation up front. Now, the second guy comes in, buys it for $150, wants to take it to the track and drive the hell out of it. Awesome. Buys it for $150 because he's not going to speculate. He's already seen what the speculation leads to. That is what it is. So he buys it, and now he goes, puts 15,000, 16,000 miles on it, and it drops the value by $25,000, $30,000, $40,000. And the more miles go on it, the less it's worth. And pretty soon, like I've seen out there already, he gets maybe a minor fender bender, gets a Carfax on it, and that car is worth $102,000, $98,000. This is the trajectory that one of the rarest cars Dodge has ever produced, made, and numbered, how that fleshed out. We already know how this goes. So why now do we think in 2023 that because they stuck a last call badge on the same exact cars they've been making for 16 years with some minor changes and slight horsepower changes, for the most part the same exact cars, and now that this one's going to be the one. This one's going to be the one that goes to the moon. I'll tell you, it's not. And I have 8 reasons we're going to go through really quickly, as fast as possible, so this video is not too long. And I'm going to share with you these, and hoping that I save you from making a mistake in buying this as an investment. The only one reason you should buy this car, because it's fun as hell to drive, and you love driving it. That's it. And you plan to put, I have 4,111 miles on this car. I bought it in July, August? I don't even know. It hasn't been very long. I put a lot of miles on. I'm driving the hell out of this thing because I love it. And if it's worth money 50 years from now, I ain't going to care because I'm not going to be here. So right now, I'm going to drive it. And if I lose $10,000 on it, that's part of owning a car. That's just the way it is. So now, let's talk about these 8 things. I'm going to go fast. 1, I already said this, the 16-year-old platform, same exact cars. I remember going looking at an SRT8, and it looked exactly the same in Austin, Texas when I was on a trip. And that's what got me into these cars, and I test drove it. I was like, I got to have one of those. And the interior's changed a little bit, but it stayed the same. So there's so many of these cars out there that it would take, I would say, more than decades. It would take millennia for these things to be exhausted, to not be able to just go find one somewhere. You don't even have to go look in a barn. Go look in a garage. They're everywhere. Everywhere you go, you're going to be able to find. You're going to be able to find used Hellcats, Scat Packs, and then what's going to happen is the mechanics will get a hold of them, and the handy guys that know how to work on cars are going to get them. The warranties are going to be gone. They're going to get them with 50, 60,000 miles and bring them back to life, just like we did in the past. But it's not going to throw these things to the moon. It's just going to be something fun for them to drive. Because when you have to start modding a car, rebuilding a car, and bringing it back to life, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worth a lot more money unless it's very original and it's 40 years from now, when most of us will be gone or filling our diapers up with feces. Now, let's talk about number 2. These cars are, now here's the deal. These cars have been a blue-collar brand, which is why I love them. My dad's a plumber, and in my soul, I'm a blue-collar man. I just am. But my dad refused to teach me the plumbing trade. He did not want me to be in that business because of what it did to him, physically, emotionally, mentally. I mean, it was a rough, hard life. And he didn't want me to be in that, so he pushed me so hard to go be this suit and tie, white-collar guy. So that's what I am. But in my soul, I identify with my blue-collar brethren, because there's no man I love and respect more than my father for what he did to take care of our family and how hard he worked. But yes, I am in this world, but I connect with the blue-collar folks, which is why I got into Dodge, because the people I met when I bought this car were cool people. They were car people. We didn't care who we voted for, any of that crap. We just loved it. We loved this car. And that's why I got into Dodge. And the prices were reasonable. You got a whole bunch of horsepower for a really good price. Well, that changed. Dodge took this thing into rich guy prices. And now, even a Scat Pack's $65,000, $70,000 once you add tax and license and everything on top of that thing, and then interest charges on your loan and all that stuff, you're buying a car that by the time you're done paying it off, you're paying $80,000, $90,000 for a Scat Pack with interest. That's rich people cars. That is not the blue-collar demographic that got me into this car. That it was affordable. It was affordable for the young guys and gals out there, and the blue-collar guys just wanted something that was fast, they could drive and work on themselves. They've abandoned that group of people for huge prices. And now it's the rich people, the speculators, the big YouTubers who can buy these things and pay over and wait and see what's going to happen. And frankly, the young guys can't buy them anymore. If they do, they're buying them at horrible interest rates and horrible prices, and they're susceptible to huge financial issues like repossessions, which right now currently are higher in September. I saw this from this car dealership guy I'll put up on the screen, the highest in like history of defaults on subprime loans. So tell me that doesn't affect the Dodge community in a huge way, meaning there's going to be a lot more of these cars coming on the market. So they abandoned it, sent these to the rich people, and guess what the rich people are saying? Why would I buy a Dodge for $100,000 at this point when I can go buy an M3 or M4 competition and get my BMW? And frankly, it's, you know, I think it's a crappy car, but it's a lot nicer in so many ways. I like this more, but these rich people, they're going and buying what they know. They're going and buying, hell, these amazing cars, buying used Bentleys and stuff. They like these are Dodges. Like, the rich people can't get their head around it. How do I know this? Because people think I'm rich because of what I do for a living and what I make. But in my soul, I'm my dad, man. But I hang out with these people, and I'm telling you, they're not saying, none of them are going. As a matter of fact, most of them ask me, why do you have a Dodge? Why do you drive a Dodge? And they're driving S550 or S whatever the hell they are, the Mercedes, the big BMWs and Lexuses and, you know, Tesla Plaids and all this crap that I'm not into anymore. None of them are going, man, I hope I can go pay $120,000 for a Dodge. Not happening. Next, these cars are only really, really sought after when they're new. Now, I'm not saying people don't like them when they're used, but used is terrifying. The first thing I learned when I started getting into these cars, when I was like, man, I'll just go buy a used Hellcat. Every dealership, now, not that they were telling me the truth, but everybody on YouTube and anyone in this community, this Dodge community, said, be careful. You'll get the Hemi ticks, you'll get the, you know, supercharger issues with the older Hellcats. But the biggest issue was these cars were ragged out. These cars were ragged out. They did donuts. They, you know, street raced, and they've been just beat the living daylights out of them. And for that reason, buying a used one is very risky, considering that the warranties are only 3 years on these things for the bumper-to-bumper warranty. So after 3 years and 36,000 miles, you have no warranty. And now they're putting all these super expensive high-performance parts in these cars. And outside of warranty, this is going to be one of the most expensive cars to repair and maintain that's out there. They're rivaling the German cars to maintain them. Everything from oil changes to brake jobs costs way more than what they used to cost on a regular old Dodge. These are not sought after as used cars. As used cars, they're just worth a lot less to everybody because of that risk. Next, insurance companies are becoming harder and harder to convince to insure these things for a reasonable price or insure them at all. Some insurance companies won't even touch a Hellcat. When I had my Hellcat, I couldn't even get insurance with a couple insurance companies when I was shopping around. They didn't want to touch them. And I thought it was, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's a 50-year-old guy, I'm in a Hellcat, why, like, what do they think I'm doing? Well, here's what they think. Even if I'm the most responsible driver in the world, and I'm not out doing all this crazy stuff and donuts and street racing and all this super dangerous stuff that you would assume that they're worried about with my 700 plus horsepower, is they know that this is one of the most, if not the most stolen car in America, that there's a high likelihood that once this thing is stolen, it'll be completely dismantled and totaled, and they'll have to buy me out of this car. And they don't want anything to do with that. You could literally buy almost any other car in America and not get nailed as hard on insurance for that reason. And it's only going to get worse over time as more and more in the secondary market and the thief market wants these cars, because you can't get them anymore new, that they're going to be stealing them. So they'll become sought after by the thieves, and you're going to get these things stolen, and insurance companies are going to continue to punish us the second you say Dodge Challenger, Dodge Charger, Scat Pack, Hellcat, insurance goes to the moon. And that affects the value of the car because it makes it harder for people to afford these things, especially at the stupid prices. So it comes back down to the prices have to be lower for people to be afford all the other stuff on them. And next, Dodge has already proven, like, how are we not learning this lesson? How are some of you not learning this lesson? Dodge has already proven that we cannot trust them. All love intended here. I'm not bashing them. This isn't about negativity. This is about reality. When Dodge says, we're never going to build another one of these again, this is the last time you can ever get the car. Just kidding, we're going to do the Durango again. Okay, it's the last time we're ever going to do the Durango. Oh, shoot, just kidding, we're going to do it again. The last time we're going to do the TRX, just kidding, we're going to do it again. They keep doing this stuff. The last time we're ever going to do a V8 in the Chrysler 300, oh no, here's a Scat Pack now. I mean, it's like, we know that there's a chance, there's probably a chance that they'll use the strike or something else to say, oh, guess what, we're going to extend the year on the Challenger, or we're going to extend, purchasing on the Challenger in the next year. I mean, this could happen. Think about this. They rolled out, after they gave out all the special, there will only be 7 special editions. Then they came out with the Mopar edition. I mean, the amount of I don't know, deception, I don't want to call it lying, man, but it is what it is. It's lying. Then why would we suddenly believe them and go, you know what, they're going to tell us the truth. They're not going to extend this thing. They're not going to come out with some new V8 next year. They're not going to launch some car that's going to be way better than this car and kill the values of these cars. But for that reason, these things are going to go down in value. Dodge is going to do something, and all the people that paid think about it. If you paid $50,000 markup on a Scat Pack in January of 2023, and now you can get them for under sticker, how stupid do you feel? Like, you've got to be sitting there going, what the hell? I can just burn that cash in my backyard. Like, you didn't have to do that. So I don't want to be made to feel stupid anymore, so I'm not going to bank on Dodge not changing the game on me again and suddenly launching another Challenger, another Charger, or something that's going to blow the doors off of these things. Just look at the history, folks. Follow the history and decide accordingly. Next, repos will be huge. They're already going huge. I mentioned this earlier, but these cars, if all the people who overpaid for them, especially this last year and the year before, because the market's been around for probably 2 to 3 years, 3 years on these things, all those people now, with the economy sliding into the toilet, are going to start, so many of these people are going to start repoing these cars. It's already happening, and these cars are showing up back on the dealership lots, and a lot of them you're going to find with low miles, and you're going to find with the warranty still in place as repos, which is only going to cause an inventory problem, and the more inventory that's out there, the lower the prices have to go, especially on the used inventory. When more used cars come, it's going to depress the prices on the used cars. The dealer has some control on new cars, but the used cars, as these repos come in, these are going to depress values on the used cars, which means your car is used once you own it. That means you're going to lose your ever-loving ass on that car because of the influx of all of the much cheaper used repos. Next, proof to what I just said is, when you buy a new car from the dealership, they tell you all the reasons why you should pay way more for the car, why you should pay top dollar for the car, why this car is going to be worth so much more money and it's a great investment, why it's going to hold its value. And then you drive back in the dealership a week later and go, you know what, I don't want to buy this car. I only put, 120 miles on it. How much would you give me for this car? And they go, well, I have to resell it. It's used. Used market's very different. We've got a lot of repos coming in. I know you paid $140,000 for it, but you know, nobody's buying them right now. I've got a big supply. All of a sudden, they open up the back lot and show you, look, I've got 50 of these things back there. I can't move. Interest rates are too high. Gas prices are too high. People aren't wanting these things. People want the newest thing. They give you all the reasons, and they tell you, the best I can give you is 10 to 12,000 under Blue Book. So here's the deal. Let's go ahead and assume that if you bought a car MSRP today and next week you went back and didn't put any miles on it, they're going to go look at Blue Book and they're going to look at wholesale, and they're going to come back and tell you, let's say you paid 90 for it, they're going to come back and tell you, we'll give you 85 for that car, because they need to sit on that car and pay to have that car sitting there. And if their average days in the market for even their new cars is 120 days or 100 plus days, 90 plus days, they're not looking to have another car that's going to be sitting there forever that they can't move. So they need to be in a position where if they need to liquidate that car, they're going to drop that price heavily, especially with all the repos coming and other issues taking place in the marketplace and the interest rates and the gas prices and everything else. So it's funny when they're selling you a new one, greatest car ever, investment. When you go to trade it in, it's not. It's all of a sudden, there's all these issues. There's all these problems. I should do that and go find out what... As a matter of fact, maybe I'll do a CarMax thing on what I can get for my Scat Pack, my Swinger, and I'll show you how badly you will get nailed when you try to get rid of that car, even if you just bought it today. And imagine if you paid a $50,000 markup. Oh, that's bloody. And lastly, and I kind of started this way, is I put in my notes, I put, heads up, genius. You're not the only one buying the car, thinking it's an investment, and parking in your garage, not driving it. Again, like I said at the beginning, back in the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, less than 1 or 2% of these cars ever got saved. And now you're looking at 80% of these cars. Let's just say it's 50%. Let's say it's 30%. It's definitely way more than it ever was, are getting saved. Now, the King Daytonas and the Demons, Demon 170s and the special editions, half or more of those are going to get saved in garages and speculated, believing they're going to be worth a lot of money. They're not. Most of them are just sticker cars. Demon 170 will definitely pull a good price, but I still think those are going to look like the other Demon. What people paid for them is probably what they're going to be worth. If you paid a $50,000 markup, you're safe. If you paid $100,000, you probably lost $50,000. That just is how it is. But so many people are speculating that these cars won't be rare 20 years from now. But I do believe over time, people will give up and they'll sell the cars, they'll get out of the cars, which will get that number down, which just means that if you're speculating, it's probably going to take twice as much time as it has taken in the past for these cars to find their way back into a collector's valuation, if you will. Meaning if it took 20 years before or 25 years, it's going to take 40 or 50 years. Do you have that much time to sit on one of these things and not drive it around? You don't. You don't. Whatever you paid for this thing is probably going to be what it's worth if you're absolutely lucky and you keep no miles on it and you keep it for 20 years. That's probably where you're going to be looking at, and you're going to be like, damn, I did pretty good. You could have put your money in anything. You could have put your money in a sock drawer and been better off, because at least the American dollar tends to make a comeback. But these things, they're likely to be obsolete too one day. Not for electric reasons, but for the reasons of the new engines that are going to be coming, the new technology that's going to be coming will be so much more advanced, so much more of this thing will be more of a special treat, but it will not be something people are going to drive. So it goes back to, it's for rich people. And I don't think the rich people are going to pay massive money when there's hundreds of, let's say even thousands of these things for sale with no miles on them, like there are Demons from 2018. So with that, everybody, I think this video did go a little long, but I hope this information helps, and I hope all of you are paying close attention to these predictions. I have yet to have been wrong, but you know what? Sometimes I hope I am wrong. I hope I'm so wrong, and all of you have to give me crap in this video later on and say, look, my, Scat Pack Swinger just went to $100,000. It's not happening. I was so shocked when I opened up my Coinbase app this morning and saw my Bitcoin going to the moon, because I had pretty much written that off. I was wrong about that. Maybe I'll be wrong about this. I don't think I am. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I've not been wrong yet. You can get deals on these cars right now. The deals are getting easier to find. Hellcats are going for cheaper. Scat Packs, guys said in the comments, man, where I live, in Texas, there's none. They go overnight. Then I went on there and I found a whole gaggle of these things on the market for 80, 90, 100 days not selling. So don't listen to what the dealers are telling you. Think for yourself. do the research, do the searching, use car gurus, look at days in the market, and don't get hustled by these dealers. Don't fall for the baloney, because these are not investments. These are fun, amazing, incredible, spectacular toys that, there's a cop here a little while ago, that are just a blast to drive. I was going to smoke the tires, but I don't need to go to jail today. Have a good one, everybody. See you in the next one. Like and subscribe. Bye.